Hey there, and welcome to another video where we are going to deep dive into the demographics of some of your favorite social media platforms. I know we've already covered Instagram. Next up on the list is the other company in that family, and that's going to be Facebook. So let me switch scenes here real quick. Facebook is very, very well known, not only here in the US, but across the globe. And with that comes a very diverse population. And over the years, it's changed quite a bit to how businesses can leverage Facebook. So today, the goal is to go over all of the demographic information. We're going to cover things like monthly active users, age of those users, gender, geography, where do all those users sit. We're going to cover the different media types and how to leverage those for your business. And then finally, we'll talk about how to engage on the platform. So time of day, so best time of day to post, lifespan of a post, how frequent you should post. And then we'll always cap these with a little bit of my thoughts on that platform and how you can use it for your business. So let's talk first about monthly active users. So Facebook has always been one of the largest social media platforms out there. It's gracing over 2.5 billion users monthly, and that is globally. That is a massive number of individuals. So do keep it in mind that the reach is big, and that means that the pool is big. It's harder to get a message out when you're screaming into the ocean, right? So you want to keep that in mind. If you're trying to go super niche, it might be a little bit more difficult, but Facebook does give a lot of great tools in reaching those individuals through different platforms. Let's break down those users. So this is information more specific to America. So this is the age diversity on Facebook in America. I'm not going to read each and every one of these, but I'm going to pull out a couple pillars, those second three, if you will. So 76% of 18 to 24-year-olds, 84% of 25 to 30-year-olds, and 79% of 30 to 49-year-olds. That's going to be the majority of the platform is going to be found between that 18 to 49. What we've also found is there's been a resurgence in the younger demographic. So for a while, Facebook actually started to dip with younger users. And because of changes in technology, the way people work and communicate, they found that Facebook was actually an easier platform to communicate with one another. So we've actually seen a slight increase in that younger demographic. And then it's always interesting to look at the older generations and their adaptation or adoption, I should say, of technology. And we see that driving, 68% of 50 to 64-year-olds and surprisingly 46% of 65-year-olds. And we all know what that's driven by. We all have families. Our grandparents want to stay in touch. They want to share those baby pictures. They want to see what their family is up to. And that's what Facebook still is at its core, is a connection platform for friends and family. But businesses over the years have really found ways to use the platform and extend their reach. But we want to keep that core piece in mind, that it's really great for friends and family. We'll break this out a little bit more by, we'll throw in some sex data as well, so female and male, in addition to those age groups. So it's just another way to take a look at the age group and how that's split. It's fairly even in most cases. We're within 1% or 2% at each and every stage between male and female. And with this data set, non-binary individuals were not gathered as part of the data gathered here. So we'll also take a look at more specifically this information. Same thing, the study did not include non-binary peoples, but you'll find that 75% of the platform is female and 63% male. It's still a large reach of the platform, but it does have leanings towards female audiences. Let's look a little bit more at these monthly active users and where they may sit. So this is actually broken out to rest of the world, which is that light color blue. The a little bit darker is Asia Pacific, a little bit darker yet is Europe, and then the darkest is US and Canada. So what you'll find though is that the US isn't even the biggest user of Facebook. Even though this was born in the USA, adoption grew wildly overseas. So taking a look at this, so this goes up to Q3 of 2019, you'll see about 2.4, 2.5 billion. Most recent numbers you'll find are closer to 2.9 billion monthly active users on the platform. But you know, COVID has kind of thrown the numbers crazy with every social media platform. Every social media platform has increased dramatically in its monthly active users. But this would be a little bit more accurate to the standard trend of the platform. But it's worth noting that geography, right? And we'll take another look here at geography. It's a little small, but what you'll find here is that India is rocking about 290 million users on Facebook, followed second by the US with 190. And then rounding out the top five, you have Indonesia at 140, Brazil at 130, and Mexico at 89 million. And then it just kind of goes down from there, and you'll see a variety of countries. This is quite a few different countries. I don't know the exact number. I could sit here and count them, but I'm not going to do so. But keep that in mind too, right? Facebook still has that family feel, so it's going to feel like the reach is there for your local area, for like friends of friends, friends of family. Like you can really start to reach those individuals quickly. But if you're going to grow your company to a global organization, or maybe you reside in one of these countries, just know the reach is greater in those countries. So if you reside in India, you're reaching 290 million people versus 190 million in the US. And now population differences and percent increases do change that story a little bit, but that's getting real nerdy in the numbers. Today, we're just gonna present these at base value. So keeping that demographic information around age, gender, geography, in mind, we want to talk next about the different media types, right? Each different media type is going to have a different effect on the success of this post. Now, Facebook is an interesting platform. It's kind of up there with Instagram in that it's a mixed media platform. Twitter is also a mixed media platform. Facebook, though, has been mixed media since the very early days, right? It started off as text posts, as almost all platforms do, and then, except Instagram, and then it moved into, you know, allowing pictures. And I'm only recapping this because I was there. I was a very early adopter of Facebook back when you needed to be a college student and register with a college email to be invited to the platform. Like you literally had an application. I just happened to be a computer science student at an engineering college, so we got early invites. I'm dating myself a little bit, but it's worth telling the story. But it started as text posts, and then it moved to adding images, and then we could, you know, post links and actually had like chats and stuff like that. But then over time, it allowed for embedding of videos, and then became a very powerful ad platform. And so I've listed here sort of a circle, right? In some of my videos, you'll find that I'll rank the success of some posts, types of posts over others. With Facebook, it really depends on your strategy, and who you're targeting, right? Some messages on these platforms are better conveyed as a text post. In general, though, you're gonna find more success with videos, images, and GIFs than you will with just a standard text post, but there is a time and place for a text post. Also, things like call to actions. They have tools to do polls, or, you know, inform your audience of discounts, or, you know, direct them to follow a link to maybe your website to buy your product. Anything with a call to action, asking somebody to go somewhere else, also performs well and better in most cases than a standard text post. If it's just a status update, you know, that's going to perform sort of like the least, followed by call to action. And then videos and images are going to be the most interactive posts. So if you're looking to really drive engagement, catch the eye of your audience, do keep it in mind there are different strategies, but in general, you're going to find a lot of success with the video and image. Combine that with a call to action and you got a pretty sweet post. But if you are a conversational type business and you're trying to generate conversation, a text post will still treat you well. So I didn't want to really rank these, even though there are sort of a list of successful type posts with the platform. So you do want to keep that in mind. And you will find this trend across most platforms is that images and videos and GIFs are going to perform way better than a standard text post will. But again, it's just how you use it. So something to keep in mind. Next, let's switch this conversation from the media types on Facebook to the best time of day for engagement. We'll also talk about half-life of posts. But again, I want to keep this in mind, or I want you to keep this in mind. We're painting a picture, right? We're taking all of that demographic information. We're taking everything that we know about the best type of posts, and then we're going to combine it now with what's the best way to engage with our audience. So what you'll find here is sort of a heat map of the best time to engage with your audience on Facebook. This can be further broken down into types of industry. So if you're in media or technology, but in general, from a global perspective, this is going to be the best time to post. And you've probably noticed this in the previous video about Instagram, where the hotspot is starting usually around 10 a.m. Here on Facebook, it seems Wednesday is like the gangbusters day, because 11, 1, and 2 are super hot. They're the 3 hottest squares on this map. But in general, you're going to find that around that 10 o'clock hour is going to be the best time to post on any given day. And then it kind of heats up again in the 2 o'clock range. So what I always contribute that to is think about a person's standard day, right? If they're eating lunch around noon, usually prior to noon, you're starting to, start thinking about lunch. So you're starting to scroll a little bit more on your social media platforms. It kind of dies off a little bit around noon when you're eating, but it's still very a strong section or strong time to post. And then, you get the after lunch sort of lulls in your day, and people will start picking up their phone again, or they're online at work, and they might visit their Facebook page and start liking and commenting on posts. That's in general what's considered the behavior of people globally, and you want to play to that, right? When are people online? When are they going to see your posts? And you can optimize that window and post during those times. So a post on Facebook is 5 hours. The half-life is 5 hours, meaning after 5 hours, your post is going to reach half as many people as it will ever reach. So at 10 hours, it's going to have reached 75% of the people that it will ever reach. And then you can take that math and expand it out everywhere. That's much, much longer than like Twitter, which is 24 minutes, which is crazy, just how fast that cycles through. So you get a little bit more time out of a Facebook post. So you might want to plan that when you start talking about your cadence. How often should I post on Facebook? And that will be the next thing we talk about here. Sort of a rule of thumb, if you will. We've broken this down into kind of a 3-1-2 approach. So 3 times a week on Facebook, it should be the minimum that you're posting if Facebook is part of your strategy. It's suggested that once every day is the most optimal number of times to post in a given week, and 2 is a bit high. It almost gets spammy, and the reason for that is think about that 5-hour half-life. And if it was a much quicker half-life, you could afford to post more. Like on Twitter, for instance, with the 24-minute, you can post up to 3 times a day and not have it be spammy and still feel engaging. Where on Facebook, it feels awfully spammy because they will see both posts when scrolling through if you're only posting them a few hours from one another. So it generally suggested the most optimal number of times to post is once a day on Facebook. So keeping all of that in mind, let's talk a little bit about my thoughts, right? We've walked through this demographic information, the type of media that's found on this platform, and what are the best ways to engage. And if you've watched some of my other videos, you know I'm an engineer by my day job, and probably anecdotally from the story I just told about going to an engineering college, my brain thinks about how do I minimize and maximize the information I'm given to the greatest extent. And that's kind of what I'm trying to help you do. But I do want you to keep in mind that each and every industry and strategy can change a bit based on your specific goals and needs. I'm just talking by the numbers, what is the most optimal route? So do keep that in mind. This is not meant to be the law of the land. You know, this isn't the only way to do it by any means. There's plenty of use cases where people have gone outside of that, created a very unique niche for themselves, and have just rode that to success. So that would be my first point I want to make right away, that even though I'm kind of telling you best time, best type of individual to target with this platform, best location to target, and best sort of media posts to make, they aren't the end all be all. So with that in mind, let's still talk about this. So Facebook is still the best guerrilla marketing platform. What I mean by that is Facebook is still very, very attractive to the local market. So if you have a brick and mortar and you're trying to reach the people in your town, Facebook is still a fantastic strategy for that, right? Because Facebook almost still feels like a reference-based platform. Like, oh, hey, you know, Steve, I know Steve frequents this location, and I see that he made a post about that, or he's following this business's page. I'm going to go check that out, right? So it's a very personal connection. So if you're smart about your ad budget and marketing and how you market your business, you can really start to leverage that platform for more of a ground up approach rather than sort of casting a wide net approach. This can also help, especially as you start to expand a business, right? If you're traditionally located in a single area, so one of the examples I like to use oftentimes is you're a woodworker, right? It's really easy to let people in your hometown know that you make really sweet coffee tables or dinner tables, and start to generate sales that way. But once you've developed additional distribution chains or maybe ways to ship out your products, you could start leveraging more ads in larger cities or larger regions where you can easily disperse your product to, and start targeting those specific folks that might match the same personas that you've found really like your products in your given city. So keep it in mind, if Facebook has been known for quite some time for its advertising strength, but it still has a guerrilla marketing type feel to it. Otherwise, it does feel a bit commercially, and we've all seen those, right? We've all seen those ads on Facebook as we're scrolling, where it's just a commercial, and it might pique our interest, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But do keep in mind, it still has that best guerrilla marketing feature set to it. And that kind of covers the second point as well, where it creates a more local feel to your business, because it's, Steve down the road is liking the business, and you see that he likes it, so you might want to check it out. And he also likes fishing, right? So you're looking at that because Steve likes fishing, and Steve. I also consider this a great platform when starting off. All of us, or I shouldn't say all of us, most of us have a lot of connections on Facebook. Many of those are friends and family. So if you're starting a business, it's a great way to let people that are close to you know that you're starting something right away. So if you're launching that YouTube page or that Instagram page, or that business, your first few sales might come from friends or family, or your first few followers or subscribers, or viewers on your Twitch channel, for instance, might come from friends and family. So do keep that in mind, that if you're already on that platform and you're already connected with a bunch of friends and families, it's a great way to start getting the word out and start getting those early followers, which do help with the algorithm quite a bit. Now, there are some things that we do want to keep in mind too when looking at Facebook. It's starting to become a little costly for ads And that's because everybody is realizing the power of its advertisement platform. So I've personally used a Facebook ad campaign manager for one of my businesses. We used it to reach both Instagram and Facebook. So that's another plus of it, is Instagram and Facebook leverage the same ad platform. So you're able to reach two platforms at once, which I thought was super powerful. But then you can start peeling down into those demographics. So I can target specific age groups or locations or interests, right? Because a lot of people forget about this, especially if you've had a Facebook page for a long time. But there's a likes and dislikes section. The platform's also tracking what individuals click on. So if there is a post or an advertisement or a group that they're following that's all about woodworking, that information is going into the big data engine of Facebook, and you can help kind of target your ads to those. Like, yes, I want people that like woodworking, right? And so to the algorithm, or to Facebook's ad campaign manager, they're finding people that like those groups, that interact with those types of posts, that have made comments about it, so on and so forth, so that it can better target those ads to those individuals. So that's a plus. It's hugely powerful. But because of that, they don't really need to be terribly price competitive. They can kind of establish their own prices, and people will pay them because of the power of that platform. And the fact that it reaches Instagram as well, like I said, is a huge piece to this. And because of all of these changes, the last point I really want to make is Facebook isn't for everybody like it used to be. Even 5-10 years ago, you would have a conversation with somebody about their business, and they would ask, hey, do you have a Facebook page? Does your business have a Facebook page? You would look for businesses, Facebook pages. And that's kind of changed over the last 5 to 10 years. Now, like I said, it's kind of reverted back to that family feel, that local feel, that more so than it has this like global platform for your business. And that's because diversity of social media platforms has changed quite a bit over the last 5 to 10 years. So companies are finding better places to be and better places to spend their time than just throw everything into Facebook. And you're going to start noticing that more of the successful companies are going to kind of revert back to that local type feel. Even if they are a national or global company, they're going to try to gain interest in a more local feel type way. And there's just ways to do that. In a lot of it has to do with customer service, listening to specific areas, making references to, because you can make ad campaigns based on locations, like making references to local happenings, so that you feel closer to the customer. And those are going to be the type of brands, not only personal brands, but physical product brands and business strategies that are going to be successful. You'll even notice this in like, I know we just got done with the election, the political campaigns, right? They try to make them feel more local because that's going to be what's successful on this platform. So Facebook is starting to fall off from being on every single list. Now, is it still on most lists? Yes. It's still going to be on most people's business strategy to at least have a page, to at least, put some content out there because of LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook being linked together. It's really easy to cross-post between those platforms. And then a lot of other platforms out there have integrations into Facebook to be able to share information there as well. So a lot of people will take advantage of that, just so if people do visit their Facebook business page, it's still kind of aggregating, posts from other resources. But what you're finding is it's not people's main business strategy anymore unless they're really, really focused in on their local market. So with that, I hope you learned a ton. I have developed an entire series where we're covering the big six. We're going over Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch, and Twitter. Here's the sixth one. Where we're going to go by the numbers. We're going to take a look at each and every platform, who lives on that platform, and that's going to help you at the end of the day decide if your brand is compatible with that platform, or should you make that platform part of your early adoption, right? If the exact type of person that you're targeting is the majority on that platform, then maybe that's the best one for you, versus maybe the exact opposite of the type of person you're trying to target is on that platform, and you might want to make that a long tail addition to your portfolio of where your business will be found. So that's the hope with this series, is that you can take a look at each and every platform and decide if it's going to be a good fit for your brand to be on, not only in the early days or as the main focus for your brand, but also when maybe to roll those out, right? Going niche is always going to be successful in the short term. And I always encourage people to ask themselves, where does my brand add value? Not only, again, from a physical product standpoint, but from as a platform, even a personal brand standpoint, where am I going to cause the most impact with my brand? And you should target those first. And then as your brand grows, as it feeds into itself and can sustain itself, maybe you can start looking at some long tail to start catching some outlier audience or fans of your product. And that's what I hope to do with this series today. So all of this information is as recent as any analyst websites can provide. I've provided the links for each and every slide. At the bottom of the slide, I'm going to include the presentation in a link below as a sort of read-only. So if you want to take a look at those, you can follow those links and see the data yourself if you really want to peel into it. But if you have questions about Facebook and if your target audience might be a good fit for that platform, drop a question below. I'd love to see what questions you have, and I read every single comment and reply as I can. So I love that engagement. So until next time, take it easy. And as always, if you've enjoyed the videos, consider hitting subscribe and liking, as we do post videos weekly where we help you lower the barrier of entry into business ownership.